Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning: this video will contain spoilers for the 1988 Alan Moore comic, Batman the Killing Joke. It may also include discussions or images of violence, sexual situations, and drug use. Viewing beyond this point is a choice you have made, and you take responsibility for that choice. Thank you, and please have a great day.
Hello and welcome to this video. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's having fun. And I hope the universe is treating you fairly. Today's video is going to be on the Alan Moore Killing Joke. The Killing Joke. Came out in 1988. It was a one-shot. It is probably the penultimate, is probably the, as far as Alan Moore Batman stories goes, it is probably his swan song. It is probably his magnum opus as far as his Batman titles go. You can argue Alan Moore's other ones, V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, From Hell, Watchmen. You can argue which one of those is his overall magnum opus. But as far as him writing Batman stories, this is probably his magnum opus Batman story. It is probably the most well-known Alan Moore Batman story. It is short. It is so short that when they made the animated movie, they had to have a whole Barbara Gordon has sex with Bruce Wayne in their crime-fighting outfits, and yeah, it's that short. You can read it. I'm extremely dyslexic, and I'm an extremely slow reader, and it only took me about 15-20 minutes to read. That is how short it is. The basic concept is the Joker has decided that one bad day can make anybody into a psychopath like him. Batman at the same time has come to the conclusion that him and the Joker are eventually going to kill each other if they don't figure out how to reconcile, how to mitigate what they're doing. Batman goes to Arkham Asylum, finds out that the Joker has escaped, and starts to try to track down the Joker. Now, in the animated film, there's other words that come to mind when I think about the animation, or at least the first 20 minutes of the animation. You have a whole that whole Batgirl thing that was set in motion for two reasons. The first reason was for non-comic book, non-Batman people to know who Batgirl is. The second one was filler, so they can meet the minimum length for an animated feature by the Screen Actors Guild rules. So yeah, so we get this convoluted Batgirl getting toyed with by a gangster, getting pissed at Batman, them having sex on a rooftop, and blah blah blah, which is unneeded because, well, you could have padded it other ways. That whole Barbara Gordon falling out with Bruce Wayne thing happens in the comics because she's dating Dick Grayson. They wind up, Batman and winds up seducing her. She gets pregnant with Bruce's baby, aborts the baby, or she doesn't abort the baby, her body aborts the baby. There's something wrong and the baby aborts naturally. Dick finds out about it. You have Dick Grayson falling out. You have Barbara Gordon, Dick Grayson, Barbara Gordon splitting up. You have Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne splitting up. You have Barbara Gordon and Bruce Wayne splitting up. That was done in the comics, and we didn't need it. And there, like I said, you could have padded it with other stuff. So Batman Goes Arkham finds that the Joker's escaped. The Joker acquires an amusement park, which is very Jokerish, which is a callback to the '86 Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns, where you have a series of scenes that take place at a carnival. There are fan theories and theories that it's the same carnival. You know, the same carnival ground, same place. It's just a few years later. Except it can't be, because Dark Knight Returns takes place 20 years after the main continuity. So the fan theory on it is kind of wonky. And it gets weird. So Joker acquires this. He does the Joker thing. He murders the guy who actually owns it. Sets up this very elaborate scheme to convert Commissioner Gordon, into a psychopath. Meanwhile, Harvey Bullock, sometimes good cop, sometimes bad cop, sometimes reformed cop. Harvey Bullock discover a storehouse or a storage building with a whole bunch of dead folks in it. Evidently, some years prior to this story happening, off panel, the Joker murdered a bunch of dentists because, well, the Joker. And this has a series of clues that leads Batman on his, fuels his quest to capture the Joker and figure out what's going to happen. This story, when it came out, was not official continuity. It was not part of the Batverse. However, over time, it has been folded by the fans into the continuity. Ergo, you have things that call back to the story in the video games and other comics and what have you. It's really fascinating how much power long-term fans have. This story, as short as it is and as compact as it is extremely rich, extremely well told. Even though Alan Moore said he wrote it like in 30 minutes while taking a poop, you know, or something along those. It didn't take him long to write it. He wrote it because he was obligated by contract to do one more Batman story, and DC was on his ass about it, and he went, okay, I'll have something for you. I've got to go take a shit. He go takes a shit, comes back and goes, hey, I've got the story for you. I don't think it went down exactly like that. I think there's a few other factors in there. I actually don't think he was taking a shit when he wrote it, but it sounds good. It makes for a good story. It's just one of the fan things which are pre-internet, about how the Killing Joke came to be. It's one of those pre-internet stories, pre-YouTube, pre-fact, you know, where you were hearing things like this from a friend of a friend who worked at a comic book store, who read an article that was incomplete, or, you know, it was those things. The whole. So yeah, it's Alan Moore. There are interviews on YouTube. You can look it up. Alan Moore interviews. You can look that up on the YouTube. You can look up Alan Moore interview Killing Joke more specifically. And it does it's and you get from Alan Moore's mouth. You get the thing. So yeah, so a lot of the stuff, some of the stuff that I said about Alan Moore, a lot of it is pre-internet fan stuff. You can look at it. It's probably not true, but it sounds good. It's a good story anyhow. You know, it's a real good story. But I digress. So Batman's looking for the Joker. Barbara Gordon is having a father-daughter night with Jim. And they're doing their thing. They're going through his old scrapbooks of all the stuff he's done as commissioner or as a police officer in general. She's getting ready to go out and do some stuff with her friends. There's a knock at the door. She thinks it's one of her friends. The door opens. It's the Joker and some henchmen. He pops her in the belly, breaking her spine. There's a series of really crude book references. Barbara Gordon being a librarian. Now in the movie, you have the post-coitus Barbara Gordon who starts out in the library complaining about her boyfriend to her gay best friend in the library who's a co-worker. And it culminates with her dad kind of bitching about work, bitching about things going on, and all basically a cover story for her and Batman having either really good sex, really horrible sex. One of the two. It's, you know, but the Joker pops her. Now, fan speculation. This is fan speculation, and some of it is pre-internet from 80s kids like me. Whether or not in both the animated film and in this version, or in the print version, the original Alan Moore print version, she's stripped down to her bra and panties. And there's a whole bunch of pictures taken. There's conjecture within the fandom whether or not the Joker and or his goons raped Barbara Gordon. It is ambiguous, and to the best of my knowledge, Moore has not clarified it one way or another. More is went. It's not written, but you have imaginations. More is more, and more is an anarchist, and he's one of those super geniuses that is completely mad and completely unstable. So there is no telling with Alan Moore from moment to moment whether or not Barbara Gordon, in the continuity of the story, was raped. I tend to think of the Joker as being relatively asexual. Even with Harley Quinn, this is also pre Harley Quinn by a number of years. Harley Quinn wouldn't be introduced until the 90s, early 90s. The Batman, the animated series is what introduced Harley Quinn to us. I want to say 5-6 years, maybe 4 or 5, 6 years, if that long, maybe 4 years. You can look it up. Harley, when Killing Joke came out in '88 versus Harley Quinn's first appearance in BTOS. So yeah. Even with that, I've always considered that's one of the things that him being asexual. Well, not really being asexual. I think he has a hang up for Batman. He's there's a Grant Morrison. There's a story. Don't know how true it is. It's internet conjecture and pre-internet fandom. There's a Grant Morrison in '89 or maybe early '90 did a Batman title called Batman Arkham, in which he wanted to do the Joker in drag, actually like the Madonna cone brawl lingerie garter belt thing, and have him constantly make very inappropriate sexual innuendos about Batman being his top. And DC went, no, we don't do that. So, and this was before DC had their black label, their over 18 line. So you still had the remnants of the comic book authority, the comic code authority, excuse me. And so, yeah, Batman is, and well, even in Frank Miller's Killing Joke, not Frank Miller's Killing Joke, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, you kind of get that innuendo that the Joker wants to be topped by Batman. It's just the innuendo's there, and in the animated Dark Knight Returns, it's really there. They lean into it heavily, but that's a lot of that. My views of the Joker, like that, is based on what I grew up with. So there you have that. However, whether or not Barbara Gordon was raped or not, that's your own. That's read the graphic novel, skip the movie. I know I have graphics popping up back and forth from the graphic novel, or that's not even really a graphic novel. It's a one-shot, deluxe, beautiful cover, nice quality. The beginning, this is the 80s, was the beginning of the high art era of comic books. It's where we started. We started with like Watchmen and V for Vendetta and stuff like that. Dark Knight Returns, Batman Year One. We were slowly getting away from the newsprint quality art into, it wasn't where it is today. It's far, far from it, but the art is starting to get better at this point. So after the Joker pops Barbara, kidnaps Jim, they go to the funny house. He goes through, he puts Jim in a kind of like a roller coaster type thing, runs him through, sings a song about don't get even with people, go crazy, you know, getting even, holding grudges is child's play, go crazy, just fuck the world, you know. This is where you get the iconic Joker line that holds to this day, where the Joker says, if I must have a past, I want it to be multiple choice. Also in The Killing Joke, we get into one of the possible origin stories for the Joker. In fact, it's the origin story they use in the '89 Michael Keaton Batman film. So we have that. But it's all nullified by that whole line of if I must have a pass, I want it to be multiple choice. So we don't know. Joker's retelling of his origin story is suspect at this point. It's not. He's not a reliable storyteller. Batman shows up. He rescues Jim. And Jim tells him, hey, look, you've got to capture this bastard, but do it by the book. And Jim is broken down. Jim's wearing a diaper and has a baby bonnet thing on him. And Jim's been through it. Jim's had a day. And they go into it. Batman captures the Joker, and you have the ending. See, the ending is another thing that people have different speculation. Batman and he captures them. They're outside. It's raining. The Joker tells Batman a joke. Batman and the Joker are laughing. Then it pans. The panels go to a scene which is reminiscent of the joke that the Joker told, and it ends. There are some people that theorize that Batman snapped the Joker's neck, killed him dead, and others say that he just returns him back to Arkham. This being at the time it was published, being a non-continuity, being its own story, being what they call Elseworlds, it is very possible that Alan Moore intended for that interpretation of Batman snapping Joker's neck. Because it's in line with the joke he told. If you want to know the joke he told, go read the comic. Skip the movie. Skip the animated movie, read the comic. So yeah, it's one of those things, and I know at some point I'm going to have the trailer running for the animation, because it's not actually all the times I've said skip the animated movie, kind of throw that out the window with the bathwater, because it is good animation. Mark Hamill reprises his voice in the Joker, and Kevin Conway is voicing Batman. Just skip through all the Batgirl stuff. So yeah, just skip through all the Batgirl stuff and call it good. Like I said, it's Alan Moore. It's great storytelling, good solid storytelling, and I'll wrap it up here. Remember, be a good human, be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?